The hour of 7 p.m. having arrived, I'll call to order this regular meeting of Keene City Council. The meeting's being broadcast live on the City of Keene YouTube channel and Spectrum Channel 1302. The video is also streamed on the city's website and is posted to the website by the next business day, barring any technical difficulties. If you'd like to receive an electronic City Council packet to reference while viewing future broadcasts, please contact the City Clerk's office during regular business hours or go to the city's website and subscribe to the city meetings email list. The agenda is also accessible from any mobile device, and I'd ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Brian J. Lake.
Here.
Michael J. Remy.
Here.
Michael Giacomo.
Here.
Randy L. Filio.
Here.
Robert C. Williams.
Here.
Philemon Jones.
Here.
Andrew M. Madison.
Here.
Chris E. Roberts.
Here.
Raleigh C. Omorad. Bettina A. Chadbourne.
Here.
Catherine I. Workman.
Here.
Mitchell H. Greenwald. Kate M. Bosley.
Here.
Thomas F. Powers.
Here.
Thank you. Councilor Lake, will you please lead us in the pledge? All right. As it relates to the minutes, I'd accept a motion from Councilor Powers, seconded by Councilor Bosley, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to adopt December 7th meeting of minutes.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilor Powers, seconded by Councilor Bosley. Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? That is unanimous. We do have one birthday tonight. Phil Jones' birthday was on December 2nd. Happy
Thank you.
birthday, Phil. And that brings us to
39, all over.
that brings us to confirmations, number one.
This evening, we have the mayor's nomination of Kenneth Cost to serve as an alternate, to serve as a regular member on the planning board. He was previously an alternate. We actually tabled this nomination back in October due to allow the current member term to expire, which has now happened. And this term would expire December 31, 2025. Kenneth Cost, Planning Board.
I'm looking at Councilor Powers for a motion. Councilor Bosley for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to confirm the nomination as presented.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilor Powers, seconded by Councilor Bosley. Any discussion? Seeing none, this does require a roll call. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Lake.
Yes.
Counselor Remy.
Yes.
Counselor Giacomo.
Yes.
Counselor Filio.
Yes.
Counselor Williams.
Yes.
And Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor Madison.
Yes.
Counselor Roberts.
Yes.
Counselor Chadbourne.
Yes.
Counselor Workman.
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald.
Yes.
Counselor Bosley.
Yes.
And Counselor Powers.
Yes.
And that is unanimous. At this time, I'll bring forward item C1 for consideration.
We need to accept this resignation from Robert Elliott. He is currently serving on the Keene Housing Authority, and we need to do that before we take a nomination for his replacement. So we do have a resignation from Robert Elliott. He's been serving on the Keene Housing Authority since January 2021.
Councilor Powers for a motion. Councilor Bosley for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to accept the resignation with regret and appreciation for his years of service to the city.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilor Powers, seconded by Councilor Bosley. Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? That is unanimous. And now we have B2.
And this would be the nomination for his replacement. It's Cody Morrison. I did neglect to adjust this term, so Cody's going to serve out the remainder of Mr. Elliott's term, so that will be to December 31, 2025. And if you'd correct your record for that. But Cody Morrison lives at 64 Fox Circle, and it's to the Keene Housing Authority.
This will be tabled to the next regular meeting. Communications number 2.
This is our annual request from the Keene Downtown Group for the Ice and Snow Festival scheduled for February 3rd of 2024.
This will be referred to the Planning, Licenses, and Development Committee, which brings us to committee reports. Number 1.
We have a Planning, Licenses, and Development Committee report relative to two ordinances, O 2023-16A and O 2023-17A. They deal with charitable gaming. On a vote of 3-0, the Planning Licenses and Development Committee recommends that the City Council substitute the amended ordinance O 2023-16A for consideration at the continued public hearing scheduled for January 18th, 2024. They go on to recommend that ordinance O 2023-17A be placed on more time.
Counselor Bosley for a motion, Counselor Giacomo for a second, please.
Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second?
We have a motion from Counselor Bosley, seconded by Counselor Giacomo. Counselor Bosley.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I just want to point out that this vote tonight and this report does not reflect whether we agree or disagree with this ordinance. This is a minor change to the definition of charitable gaming. And after this ordinance came out of the joint committee had recommended that staff prepare an amendment which included adding the definitions for Lucky 7 and bingo. And there are several sections of the state definitions that these definitions are in different places. And so it took a little bit of time and a little bit of massaging to come up with all of the right language for this. But we did ask staff to do this. They brought it back, and the committee's in full support of this amendment. And this is the ordinance that we would ask be reviewed at the public hearing in January.
Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? That is unanimous. Number 2.
Planning License and Development Committee report relative to an airport hangar lease. On a vote of 3-0, the Planning Licenses and Development Committee recommends the city manager be authorized to execute a lease agreement with Hexagon Hangar LLC for land and associated hangar structure at the Keene Dillon Hopkins Airport.
Counselor Bosley for a motion, Counselor Giacomo for a second, please.
Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second?
We have a motion from Counselor Bosley, seconded by Counselor Giacomo. Counselor Bosley.
So again, it looks like there has been a really favorable lease negotiated on behalf of the city for this hangar space. The terms were to go with a 3-year lease for this because of the value of this, potentially the value of this land and the development opportunities. We were able to negotiate a 3-year lease. It does have a 3% escalation clause included in it. All the terms looked great on behalf of the city, and we were comfortable asking the manager to go ahead and sign this up.
Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? That is unanimous. Number 3.
Planning Licenses and Development Committee report relative to an airport brand strategy and marketing plan. On a vote of 3-0, the Planning Licenses and Development Committee recommends acceptance of the airport brand strategy and marketing plan presentation as informational.
And we will accept the presentation as informational. Number 4.
Finance Organization and Personnel Committee report relative to a contract award for gear extractor and drying equipment. On a vote of 5-0, the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee recommends the city manager be authorized to execute a contract with Daniels Equipment Company, Inc. for the purchase of a gear extractor and drying system.
Counselor Powers for a motion, Counselor Remy for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
We have a motion from Counselor Powers, seconded by Counselor Remy. Counselor Powers.
Thank you, Your Honor. Fire Chief joined us to let us know about this latest purchase that needs the city manager's signature. And if you're wondering what it is, it's a big washing machine and a big dryer. And why is it so expensive? Because it gets used frequently. I mean, the rules of the common sense in terms of safety is if you go in a fire scene, when you come back out, that equipment needs to be washed. And you don't want to do it at home. So they went out to bid. It came back with a very favorable price from the CIP. It's for Station 2, and the company that's going to do the work is well experienced in this business. They do it quite frequently. Finance Committee voted unanimously to recommend that you approve this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? That is unanimous. Number 5.
Finance Organization and Personnel Committee report relative to the acceptance of the Lieutenant Joseph D. Bernardo Memorial Grant. On a vote of 5-0, the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee recommends the city manager be authorized to do all things necessary to accept and expend the Lieutenant Joseph D. Bernardo Memorial Foundation grant for the purpose of outfitting department members with emergency rope escape systems.
Council Powers for motion, Council Remy for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
We have motion from Council Powers, seconded by Council Remy. Council Powers.
The chief joined us for a second presentation. This funding is from a foundation that was created several years ago when a number of New York City police firefighters were injured in a fire in which they were unable to escape quickly from that portion of the building that was on fire. So they worked towards doing more safety equipment improvements and came up with these rope systems that every firefighter will carry. Just, it's another item they need to carry, but it's really a life-saving method. In other words, they could attach it to something internally in that building, and they could bail out the window and get closer to the ground for rescue or to save themselves. Unfortunately, there were several deaths, one of which at a later date was Lieutenant DiBernardo. This is $11,997. It'll purchase 20 more sets. So just about everybody that's on the job today is going to have the latest in escape equipment. Finance Committee voted unanimously to request the city manager to accept and sign this. We ask you to do the same.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? That is unanimous. Number 6.
Finance Organization and Personnel Committee report relative to a lease renewal agreement for 12 Gilboa Avenue, Suite C. On a vote of 5-0, the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee recommends the manager be authorized to do all things necessary to negotiate and execute a lease renewal with U.S. Senator Jeanne Shaheen for the office space located at 12 Gilboa Avenue, Suite C.
Council Powers for a motion. Council Remy for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
We have a motion from Council Powers, seconded by Council Remy. Council Powers.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is a renewal of the existing lease for that space where the senator has an office. And this term will be until the end of her current term of office as our senator. And she may come back as a senator and ask for us to renew it. She's been a very good tenant, and it was reasonable to renew this for that period of time. Finance Committee voted unanimously to recommend that we do that as a city council. Hope you do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? That is unanimous. At this time, we will table item D7 so we can consider the funding the resolution before we adopt the resolution. So number 8.
Finance Organization and Personnel Committee report relative to an allegation of fraud or misconduct in connection with the municipal election pursuant to Section 5 of the Charter. And this is being recommended that it be accepted as informational.
And this will be accepted as informational. We have city officer and department reports, number 1.
This is a memorandum from the Finance Director Treasurer relative to acceptance of donation from Monadnock Interfaith Project.
After all this time, you don't have faith in me? She said she didn't have any comments, so I skipped over it.
He's paying attention.
Oh,
Thank you, Patty. I'm looking to Councilor Powers for a motion, please. Councilor Remy for a second.
Simmer down, simmer down. I know it's the last one. We've been granted $750 from the Monadnock Interfaith Project, and the city manager is authorized to use these funds as specified by the donor for the Human Rights Committee Martin Luther King Day events in January, coming up, January 15th, 2024. Their event was a presentation by Father Greg Boyle, a pastor of the Dolores Mission Church. It's one of the poorest areas in the Catholic parish in Los Angeles, and his activities have been wonderful for those folks in need, and he came here and spoke with a number of people that learned a lot from him, and as a result, there were some donations. We recommend that the city council graciously accept this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? That is unanimous, and thank you very much for those donations. Number 2.
This is a memorandum from the city manager relative to the purchase of a property off of Howard Street. And the recommendation is to have the city manager authorized to execute all documents necessary for the purchase of the particular lot. Because this is an item hitting the agenda for the first time, we need to suspend our rules of order before we consider a motion.
Okay, and so I'd be looking for a motion from Counselor Powers, a second by Counselor Bosley on suspending the rules.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to suspend Section 26 of the Rules of Order to allow action on this recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion from Counselor Powers, seconded by Counselor Bosley. Any discussion on suspending the rules? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Lake.
Yes.
Counselor Remy.
Yes.
Counselor Giacomo.
Yes.
Counselor Filio.
Yes.
Counselor Williams.
Yes.
Counselor Jones.
Yes.
Counselor Madison.
Yes.
Counselor Roberts.
Yes.
Counselor Chadbourne.
Yes.
Counselor Workman.
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald.
Yes.
Counselor Bosley.
Yes.
Counselor Powers.
Yes.
It is unanimous. The rules are suspended. I'd be looking to Counselor Powers for a motion and Counselor Remy for a second.
I move to recommend the city manager be authorized to execute all documents necessary for the purchase of map lot number 536/031.
Second.
We have a motion from Counselor Powers, seconded by Counselor Remy. Counselor Powers or anyone? City Manager.
So before you this evening is the potential purchase of a small parcel off Howard Street. It's .21 acres. It abuts several other parcels owned by the city. Council had an interest in acquiring this parcel to combine with city-owned tax deeded parcels for potential future housing development. And I will just give a shout out to Councilor Lake, who has been looking at parcels within the city to see if there are opportunities for potential development. This is one of the ones that came forward, and so I did go ahead and speak to the property owner because it is a piece of property that's been vacant for a period of time and has no direct access off Howard Street. It is something that she is willing to sell to us, and for a purchase price of $5,000.
Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? That is unanimous. Number 3.
This is a resignation from Kurt Bloomquist, who's been serving as the Emergency Management Director. He is resigning that position as of December 30th, 2023.
Counselor Powers for a motion, Counselor Bosley for a second, please.
I'm not sure I want to do this. Okay, so move to accept the resignation with regret and appreciation for all the work and service he's done for us. And I need to correct something. I know he didn't write it, but he will correct it for one of us at some point. It's 30 December, isn't it? It's not December 30. Okay, I got it right. Got it right.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Counselor Powers, seconded by Counselor Bosley. Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? One opposed. Okay. So we have ordinances for a second reading, number 1.
This is a Finance Organization and Personnel Committee report relative to Ordinance O 2023-19, and they are recommending the adoption of Ordinance O 2023-19. And we have Ordinance O 2023-19, an ordinance relating to class allocation and salary schedules.
Counselor Powers for a motion, Counselor Remy for a second, please.
I move to recommend the adoption of ordinance 2023-19.
Second.
We have a motion from Counselor Powers, seconded by Counselor Remy. Counselor Powers?
Last week at FOP, we were joined with the assistant city manager and the city manager to talk us through this recommendation. Essentially, what's happening is there's a retitle of at least one position to make it a little more consistent with what the job has evolved to. And then it's a repositioning in the pay scale, or the class allocation schedule, as it's called, for several other key positions. and management of the city department heads, departments and assistant departments. And what's being done here is it's another step in the effort to try to take the compression out of the pay plan, where those who are working at hourly wage with overtime is rapidly encroaching the same pay that a supervisor, a department head, or somebody with senior responsibility is making, and that's just not the right way to do business. We've talked about making these changes for a long time, and there's still gonna be work done on the entire system, but these are most important at this point in time, because as you've heard tonight, and we keep hearing, we're getting more and more retirements. People are moving on to enjoy their life after work here. And most people really don't wanna leave, but this is the right thing to do. You know when it's time to retire. But when we start trying to bring in other folks to fill those positions, there's real competition out there, and there are offerings from other places and other types of work with similar responsibilities. So this really needs to be done at this point in time, and you'll hear a little bit later about a complete review of the entire system. Finance discussed it, a few questions, better understanding of what's going on, and we unanimously sent it forward to you as the city council, and we hope that you'll approve it also. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
Counselor Giacomo?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Madison?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Chadbourne?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald?
Yes.
Counselor Bosley?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
And that is unanimous. Number 2.
Finance Organization and Personnel Committee report relative to Ordinance O 2023-20. Committee is recommending the adoption of the ordinance, and we have Ordinance O 2023-20, an ordinance relating to life safety permit and inspection fees.
I'm looking to Counselor Powers for a motion. Counselor Remy for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I recommend the adoption of ordinance 2023-20.
Second. We have a motion from Counselor Powers, seconded by Counselor Remy. Counselor Powers.
Thank you, Your Honor. Almost a month ago, it was brought to our attention, maybe it was even 2 months ago, but we've handled this a couple of different times. Brought to our attention that our local ordinance, local code, was in conflict with state law. Something that happens from time to time. Most often, the state laws change faster than we can keep up with. But in this case, the statute is fairly clear that for an assembly permit, you can't charge for that permit. That's the attention that was brought to us. We reviewed it. We talked about it in finance. We had recommendations from the city attorney. And what you have before you now is to clean that up. In other words, there's no fee for the assembly permit. However, there's a fee for an inspection, because this is all about life safety. And in order to get a good handle on the safety condition of a particular facility, a public facility that could be filled with people, you need to do an inspection. As a matter of fact, here, it's done twice a year, but the cost of the inspection is only charged once. So for $70, there are two inspections, and if all goes well, things are fixed and ready to go, but there's no, and then you'll get your assembly permit. We had a bit of a discussion and a couple of thoughts of how other things might be done. We're not sure that uniformly across the state, it's all done the same way, but many have been doing it the same way we did it. And after a bit of discussion, we voted unanimously to send this forward, and we hope that you will adopt it also. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor?
Roll.
Is it a roll?
It's an ordinance.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
Counselor Giacomo?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Madison?
Yep.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Chadbourne?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald?
Yes.
Counselor Bosley?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
That's unanimous. Now, resolutions, number 1.
Finance Organization and Personnel Committee report relative to Resolution R 2023-40. The committee is recommending the adoption. Resolution R 2023-40, a resolution relating to the appropriation of funds for the general fund unassigned fund balance for the purpose of funding a classification and total compensation project.
Council Powers for motion, Council Remy for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I recommend the adoption of ordinance 2023-40.
Second.
We have a motion from Council Powers, seconded by Council Remy. Council Powers.
Thank you, Your Honor. Essentially, this would be the beginning of the project for complete review of the classification and the pay plan for the city of Keene. No easy task. It's a task that, I guess I need to say, what, 30, probably 30 years is the last time one was done. Times have changed, classifications have changed, people's responsibilities have changed greatly. And it's a project that we really can't do ourselves. There's so many things going on, there's so many different nuances that we're not always aware of, the professional system that can put this together and work with us. At the same time, a review and an update will be done of all the position descriptions, various responsibilities. So it's a large project, it's an important project, and it's the right time to do it. I mean, that's been a question of why are we doing it now? Is it in the CIP? We're doing it now because it's the right time to do. As we know, we're having changeovers in different positions, and more responsibilities are being added to our responsibility as a city. So it's the right time to do it, and we can afford it. It's in the, it's gonna come from the unassigned fund balance, but we can afford to spend this money for a project with this much value. So it was sent forward from the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee for your actions. We hope that you will adopt this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Remy.
Keep this really short. Just the only piece is that I actually was 4-1 in committee. So I had actually voted against it in committee. I will be voting for it tonight because there was I didn't understand that this was across all positions for the city, and it seemed very expensive for the few that were on that schedule that we looked at the beginning of the meeting. So I had a misalignment in my head of how many positions were included. So I'm more okay with it now. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay. No?
No? No, we're not on that. This is on the funding of the study.
So we got consensus up here?
Unlike Ryan.
All right.
Just faded away.
All right, any further comments? Counselor Jones.
I want to clear first, this is for,
Microphone?
this is for the funding for the master plan, correct?
No.
No,
No.
okay. I was looking at, it confused me with Councilor Remy's.
Okay, all set? Are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? That is unanimous. Number 2.
Finance Organization and Personnel Committee report relative to Resolution R 2023-41. Committee's recommending an adoption of that resolution. And it reads, Resolution R 2023-41, a resolution relating to the acceptance and appropriation of unanticipated highway revenue.
Council Powers for motion, Council Remy for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to recommend the adoption of Resolution 2023-41.
Second.
We have a motion from Council Powers, seconded by Council Remy. Council Powers.
I thought he did such a good job at getting this all together. At any rate, Public Works Director joined us, if I'm on the right one, that we're getting serious money, $180,000 from the state. It's unanticipated income, so we need to accept it. So it comes into our flow of funding, and it's gonna be put aside for future projects, and it has to be for Public Works, probably a little more narrowly, roads, sidewalks, and things of that nature, improvements. So we have a long list of things that will need to be addressed in the future, and that money will be put towards it. It was unanimously approved by the Finance Committee, and I hope you will do the same.
Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? That is unanimous. Number 3.
Finance Organization and Personnel Committee report relative to Resolution R 2023-42. Committee's recommending the adoption. And we have Resolution R 2023-42, a resolution relating to the appropriation of funds from the unallocated general fund balance in the amount of $110,000 for the master plan update project.
Council Powers for motion, Council Remy for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move for the adoption of Resolution 2023-42.
Second.
We have a motion from Council Powers, seconded by Council Remy. Council Powers.
So this is the funding for the review and updating of our master plan. Very vital and important document that we have. A lot of time was spent to build that document a number of years ago, and it would only be appropriate and prudent for us to continue to make sure it's up to date. So there's been worked into the work process, a system whereby we would start working on it. This too, again, is the right time to begin to do this. The project's in the CIP, but it was going to be funded over a couple of years. It would not have complete funding in the CIP till after July 1st of this year. But in the meantime, when the staff was out looking at what's going on and how to approach it and who could help us approach it, it was very apparent that the cost of doing it was not going to be what we were projecting in the CIP. So they've come up with a plan, gone out to bid, and selected a firm that we might be working with, and have a pretty good idea where the money's going to land as far as the cost. So what we're asking to have approved here tonight is the total amount. So we'll take some out of the unassigned fund balance. You've got some money in the CIP, and then that money that's targeted for the next year, although not appropriated in the CIP, will be appropriated to some other particular program where the need arises. So Finance listened to the presentation, had a few questions about how this might happen. There are a lot of folks involved in bringing us to this point. But we can't have the contract until we get the money. So unanimously approved by Finance, and I hope you do the same.
Thank you. Council Jones.
Thank you. I was able to read all the proposals as well as sit in on the interviews, and there's some great companies out there. They all did a great job with their proposals. And it was obvious they all looked at our budget ahead of time and hadn't tried to make some cuts to meet to it. But we wouldn't be getting the services we need. Most of all, I'd be afraid we'd be cutting back on community engagement, which would be one of the big parts. And then there's, my pet peeve was the implementation part that would come with an implementation plan. I think if we approve this, we can make sure that that is done right, and we get all the services we need to put out a good plan. So I support this.
Thank you. Councilor Lake.
Thank you, Your Honor. I voiced a little bit of concern in committee. I think I said roughly, this is a decent chunk of money to be spending on this project, and I think that concern may have been echoed at the planning board meeting earlier this week as well by one of the members there. And projects are getting more expensive, things are getting more expensive, and I think we're going to have to make some hard decisions on where we do put our funding. And while I do support updating our master plan, I don't think I support this additional funding to bring in a consultant to do so. So I intend on voting no tonight.
Further comments? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? 2 opposed. Motion carries. So at this time, we'll remove from the table item D7, and we have item D7.
Finance Organization and Personnel Committee report relative to consultant selection for the master plan update. On a vote of 5-0, the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee recommends the city manager be authorized to do all things necessary to negotiate and execute a professional services contract with Future IQ for master plan consulting services for an amount not to exceed $160,000. In the event that negotiations with the preferred vendor are not successful, The city manager is authorized to do all things necessary to negotiate and execute a professional services contract with FHI Studio for an amount not to exceed $160,000.
Counselor Powers? Counselor Powers for a motion, Counselor Remy for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
We have a motion from Counselor Powers, seconded by Counselor Remy. Counselor Powers.
Thank you, Your Honor. We've heard a little more discussion this evening already about this particular project, but this would be, now that it is funded, this would give the city manager the authority to sign a contract with Future IQ for the master plan consulting services. I'm looking for a not-to-exceed amount of $160,000. There is a runner-up that is possible. There were 5 firms that were interviewed. I think several of them were interviewed a second time because they showed so much interest and ability to do the job. The review committee was Jesse Rounds, Mary Bruner, Rebecca Landry, Andy Bohannon, and Phil Jones. So we had well-qualified people making these decisions and the recommendation to us. So we approved it at finance, and I hope you'll do the same.
Thank you. Any discussion? Counselor Lake?
Thank you, Your Honor. Since the council has approved the funding for this project, I just want to thank the selection committee for all the work they put in. I know they put in quite a bit of work, and having read through the packet for Future IQ, definitely support them as the consultant to go with.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none. Are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? That is unanimous. And we have number 4.
We have a memorandum from the Assistant City Manager, Human Resources Director. We have a memorandum from the Assistant City Manager, Human Resources Director, relative to Resolution R 2023-43, a resolution in appreciation of Court D. Bloomquist upon his retirement.
I'm looking at Counselor Powers for a motion. Counselor Mosley for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move for the adoption of Resolution 2023-43.
Second.
We have a motion from Counselor Powers, seconded by Counselor Mosley. Counselor Powers.
Thank you, Your Honor. I see a lot of words in here that are familiar. If you haven't had a chance yet to read this, please do. That's 30 years of a lot of work. And it really doesn't matter who's in that position. That's a tough job. It snows, it rains, it floods, it does everything under the sun. And of course, Court added on to be emergency manager director in the middle of all of this, and then a little bit of an assistant city manager for some work that needs to be done, and he did it well. I got a lot of words that I'll do next week with a smaller group here, but one of the things that hasn't been covered, at the same time the court was doing this, he did 28 years in the United States Air Force. About 11 years, I think, if I've got this right, as active duty, and then he came to us and continued on as a reservist. And Court being the guy he is, do you think he'd be a reservist close by? No. He had to go to New Jersey a couple of 3 times a quarter to get the work done and do the kinds of things he was doing here on an Air Force base. So he brought to us some great talent, some great exposure, and some great work. I appreciate it. I know everybody else appreciated it. A lot of people know a lot about him. Does anybody know what his nickname in college was? Say hi to Whitey. I bet there's a lot of kids that remember you, that you taught them how to swim. See, he moves into a community, he goes to school in the community, and he becomes involved in the community. Congratulations, best of luck. Thank you.
Okay, now we have to vote on that. Okay. Any further comments? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? That's unanimous. Number 5.
Second memorandum from the Assistant City Manager, Human Resources Director, this one dealing with Resolution R 2023-44, which reads, "A resolution in appreciation of John Millage upon his retirement."
I'm looking to Counselor Powers once again, and Counselor Bosley for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move for the adoption of Resolution 2023-44.
Second.
We have a motion from Counselor Powers, seconded by Counselor Bosley. Counselor Powers?
Did you ever wonder how these get arranged? How did it come that one person's first, one person's second? Did you really review it? I bet you didn't. They're alphabetical. And it starts with the years of service, 30, 33, and then 35. But if you add all those up, it's well over 100 years of experience that going off to enjoy their retirement, and I hope they do. John Millage is a behind-the-scenes guy. Probably a lot of folks don't know him, but if you ever see him, you ever see a guy working hard with a city shirt or driving a city truck with a big seal on it, he's not stopping just to play around. He's there to work, and he's working all the time. Very personable fella, held a number of different positions here in the city, really worked his way up through the system, came in as a part-timer when we first took over the landfill, whatever we're calling it. When we took it over, we had to hire folks on a temporary basis, and he came in and started working for us there. He's been at Public Works, went to Parks and Rec, back to Public Works, and back for his last few years at Parks and Rec. He's done a fine job. Should be proud of everything he's done here. You ought to be proud of the work he's done for you. And one of the behind-the-scenes projects he was involved in 1995, he was part of the committee of employees that reviewed the candidates for city manager position. So he'll remember that for sure, of the number of different projects he's been involved in the city of Keene. And congratulations to him. I hope he'll come, because if you haven't been out and about in some of these places, you haven't seen him, but you'll know him when he walks in the door. He's just a personable individual. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? That is unanimous. Number 6.
Our final resolution of the night, again accompanied by a memorandum from the Assistant City Manager, Human Resources Director. It's relative to Resolution R 2023-45, a resolution in appreciation of Diane M. Field upon her retirement.
Counselor Powers for a motion. Counselor Bosley for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move a recommendation, excuse me, I move to recommend the adoption of Resolution 2023-45.
Second.
Thank you, Your Honor. This employee's been here over 35 years, and fortunately, she only had to put up with me for 13 of those 35 years. But boy, did she do a good job. She trained 6 city managers, 7 police chiefs, and about 140 some odd police officers who came to work for us, and retired before she left. It's a tough job, being the office manager in any police department. But it's a tough job when you start in a police department. She started, and there was no automation. The guys were typing out back on hand-picking typewriters, but she did have one of those Selectric 3 electric typewriters. But she brought us through countless different avenues of automation to a system that's fabulous, and it makes the job so much easier for those folks out in the field. And when you read her resolution, and I'm sure the chief has gotten just about everything she's done in there, she did a fabulous job for all of us. And to some degree, she was kind of like a mother. You know, when you got 43 cops and about 25 or 30 part-time or full-time employees, you're watching out for them all the time. You know, she had 3 kids, but she really had about 75 kids downstairs in this building, and she was part of that transition to the new building and changes. She's earned this retirement, and she may come next time around, but I'm sure you'll see, if you go to a craft show, you will see her there and congratulate her. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? That one is unanimous. So at this time, before we conclude the meeting, we've got a couple more items of business. I would ask that Counselor Giacomo join me up here and for a few words. So, Counselor Giacomo has been a city councilor for a couple terms here, I think, 4. He has always brought good humor, an engineering mind and sensibility to our discussions, and he's a very snappy dresser as well. But really, you've brought good humor and you've made it fun to serve, and I certainly have appreciated it, and I know your fellow councilors have as well. And you've also prioritized constituent service, and I know that you have brought a lot of passion to these very important issues having to do with changes in technology, anything technical, and you've really added to the discussion, and I know that the city is better for your service. So thank you. Thank you very much. And we have a little token of our appreciation for your service as well.
I'm not known to speak much at council, so no, thank you so much, everyone, for teaching me so much on council here. It's been a great honor working with all of you, even Randy. I've really learned a lot from all of you, and it's been a great experience. And I know I said some vague words about I'm stepping down because of family, but what a lot of you might not know is our family is growing again next year, which is I did know before I did not run for council again, so that was the bigger reason why I didn't run again. So really excited about that, and as my favorite saying about politicians goes, and I've become intimately aware, they are much like diapers. They need to be changed often, and often for the same reason.
Thank you.
There's a little something here for you from the city council. It's my pleasure to present it. I don't know, am I here showing everybody out the door or what? I mean, why did I get picked? But thank you very much for all you've done for the city, particularly as the mayor. It's a lot different up there than it was when you're at the end of that table. Been some tough years, particularly those COVID years. You showed us how to have meetings by Zoom, and we did it very well after a period of time. When we've been a little askew on things here, you kind of reminded us what we're here for and how to get things done. And I think the city's much better off for your time here, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy your spare time. As the new mayor hasn't found out yet, being the mayor takes up a lot of time, and you did put in a lot of time, and we got some great results. So congratulations and best of luck to you.
Thank you. So, today, my heart is really filled with both gratitude and nostalgia as I address you all for the last time as your mayor. These past 2 terms have been an incredible journey, a journey full of trials and challenges, but above all, we've had a lot of shared progress that we can all share together, and I'm proud of that. I want to thank Elizabeth and Tom, and of course Patty, for your support over the past 4 years. This is an incredibly talented team, a high-integrity team. And unfortunately for me, all of my future colleagues are now going to have to compete with you all and try to reach that very high bar that you have set. And that's really no easy task. And I'm going to miss working with you all immensely. And that sentiment and my appreciation really extends to the entire staff for the city of Keene. The citizens of this city are profoundly lucky to have so many dedicated people working for them throughout this incredible organization. I've had the privilege through my 4 years as mayor and then my 4 years as a city councilor to just witness a lot of little things that happen in this city and go nearly unnoticed, but make an incredible, incredible difference. They make the city what it is. And we all owe a real debt of gratitude to our city staff for doing that. So thank you. I want to thank my chairs. The job of being mayor is a lonely one, but you all made it less lonely. You supported me, you brought your experience and your enthusiasm to the job, and you stepped in when the city needed you to step in. And Tom, as finance chair, has a really hard job. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes work that goes on to being finance chair, as Mitch knows, and you just stepped up into it. It was the job your whole career prepared you for, I feel like. And you've done incredibly well, and you took the ball and you ran with it and made it something that I couldn't even have envisioned that it would be. And I thank you for that support. And Councilor Bosley, you came into being a chair as a relatively new councilor, and I know the hours and hours of time that you put in, and you had a heavy load on your committee, and you made some incredible, incredible progress when I think about the land use code update and some of the toughest issues. And it was a running joke throughout my tenure. Oh, that one's going to PLD. But you didn't complain. You went about it with confidence, and I knew that when something was heading your way, it was going to come out well. So thank you for that. And Mitch, we've had an interesting relationship. At some points, we've been competitors. At some points, we've been really working together, rowing in the same direction. But throughout all that, I always considered you a friend, and I'm thrilled, and you brought such a wealth of experience and good humor to our meetings and working together, and I thank you, buddy, for stepping up when I needed you to. I want to express my deepest appreciation for the trust that this community and the city councilors and those in this room have really placed on me, allowing me to do the honor to serve this wonderful city. It's been a privilege beyond measure, and I've cherished every moment of it, nearly every moment of it. Working alongside you to make our home a better place. And that's it. It's a pretty simple thing. We're all here to just make our home a better place. And I know that everybody around this table is here for that reason. And reflecting on our time together, I can't help but feel immense pride for what we've accomplished. Our collective efforts have borne fruit, and the numbers we've achieved speak to that. We've reduced the city's property tax rate by more than 15% decrease the city's debt by 25%. And those aren't just statistics, those are tangible proof of our commitment to financial responsibility and sustainability. That reflects the work we've all done. And seeing such reductions is rare for any mayoral term, but this past 4 years have really been an outlier. The only mayoral term to do double digits in those categories going back to 1970, and that's as far back as I researched it. Beyond just the figures, there's a deeper story here, a story of unity, resilience, and creativity. Our city's not just defined by finances, it's the spirit of our people and their scrappiness and the way that we've come together as a community to uplift one another, especially during really uncertain times and during the COVID pandemic. So during that pandemic, we all had to get used to a new reality and unprecedented levels of responsibility for city government. It was really something to experience that from the inside. Many in our community also had to deal with insurmountable loss, and we can't forget about that. And there were times in 2020 when I really didn't know if I was going to be the mayor that had to preside over Keene losing its downtown, or us losing jobs and businesses and really taking a turn that would be unrecoverable. And I thought about that a lot, as I'm sure many of you did in 2020. But because of the people in this room, the business owners, the volunteers throughout our community, we had a very different outcome. We had a net increase in new businesses during COVID, believe it or not, in the city of Keene. We also had new traditions like the Taste of Keene Food Festival, the downtown block parties, all this stuff that was invented under the crisis, but is going to sustain the vitality of our downtown for many generations, hopefully, many years anyway. And so this community stepped up. It was hardened by the adversity, and we came out stronger on the other side. I'm very proud of that, and bravo to everybody in the community that did that. Having served 8 years in elected office in Keene, I've learned a lot of different lessons. It's corrected a lot of misconceptions I had about government, and it's incumbent from all of us to push back on some of those misconceptions and that misinformation. It's fueled an incredible pride in my home. And what a gift that really is, to have pride in where you live. The people that live in Keene have a lot of pride. They have a lot of pride. So much so that they give back to their community in outsized ways, both in philanthropy and volunteerism. And it's important that we also recognize that this isn't a recent thing. This is a long tradition that goes back many, many years. A main street like ours doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen by accident. An efficient local government like ours doesn't happen by accident. A small city that makes up only 1.5 to 1.6% of New Hampshire's total population, yet punches way above our weight in economic productivity, sustainability, activism, and creativity, that all doesn't happen by accident. I've often said that this is a community where 5 like-minded people or 8 city councilors can really make just about anything happen. You can change your environment. You can bring your ideas to life. You can have an impact. And I believe that more today than ever, having lived it and having seen it in action. As you lead this city forward, don't ever let that go. Defend the little guy. Be a loudspeaker for quiet voices. And encourage everyone in our community to participate and share their ideas. That's the tradition that Keene's leaders have established. That's who Keene is. And it's your responsibility to build on that identity or add to it if you can. As I step down from this role, I carry with me the unwavering belief that our city's best days are yet to come. And to each of you who have stood by me, supported me, challenged me to do better, Randy, thank you. Thank you for your trust, thank you for your dedication, and your unwavering enthusiasm for your home. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for allowing me to serve. I'm forever grateful for this chapter of my life, and I look forward to continuing to contribute to the bright future ahead for our beloved city. Thank you, and happy holidays. So with that, we stand adjourned.